We are now recording. So welcome, happy Thursday, happy day to everybody. I hope you had a terrific week and it's fantastic to have you back with us tonight. My name is Sandra Firpo. I'm an emergency services specialist for the San Mateo Consolidated Fire Department. For those of you who are just joining us this week, that is your sponsoring agency, if anyone should ask at some point, the San Mateo Consolidated Fire Department, and we cover the cities of Belmont, Foster City, and San Mateo. So thank you again for joining us this week, and congratulations on getting through week one, which is usually the biggest hurdle. Some of you reached out to me if there were some minor glitches, but I am hoping that you got through well and that you were able to use the materials to help you get through it. So what we did this week, the main concentration was getting onto online CERT and getting Unit 1 done. And Unit 1 is divided into two parts, 1.1 and 1.2, that together make Unit 1. Remember to think of CERT in two parts, for right now, mainly for us, right? The hybrid CERT is the online CERT component, which is the general curriculum of CERT put together by FEMA. The online CERT program is run by the University of Utah, and that is consistent throughout the whole country. And then we have our live office hours here every Thursday. And what we do here is we localize that information so it's relevant to you here in our area and how we do things maybe in our program. Each program in CERT will have unique aspects because hazards, topography, geography is going to be different in every place. So if you're taking this CERT training with us and you're not from one of our three cities, that's fine. You're welcome to be with us, and it's great to have you. But what you'll do is at the end of all this, you will take your certificate of completion and you'll take it to your local CERT program. And they may have one or two more steps for you to onboard with them, but the curriculum is consistent throughout the country, and trained in CERT will be valuable and recognized wherever you go with it. All right, so our goal here, of course, is to take that information that you learned, hit some of the high points, and how does it pertain to us here? Some of this is going to be review, but some of this is going to be new for some of you folks, so bear with us as we go through some of these items. This over here is our home base page, smcfire.org/CERT. And if you go down to the bottom, you'll see a few buttons down there, and you want the new students buttons. That's where it's going to take you over to the right side of the page. And that's going to guide you. That's going to be your guide for the entire program. It's the classes in the order that we're doing them, additional information that is specific to us. Remember, if you were sitting in a classroom with me right now, you'd get a folder, like I said, with all of these forms and all of this information and all these resources. Now everything is online for you to have. So don't feel like you need to print everything or anything like that, but I want you to have it at your beck and call. I want you to be able to look at it, review it, and print out whatever is pertinent to you. So here's class 1, which most of you are probably familiar with. Here is your participant guide, which is also known as the CERT manual. You can do, it's either in English or Spanish, whatever is easiest for you. There are some videos and some links. These are things that we, again, would have shown you in class, in the classroom, if we were in a classroom setting. You may have noticed under references that I added a study guide for Unit 1. And every week, probably on Tuesdays, I'll be adding a study guide for the unit or units that we're doing that week to help you overcome any hazards that you come across while doing online CERT during the week. So that should get you over any hump, any hurdle, okay? And then additional reference material that is helpful to you. You'll find a lot of great information there. Again, most of it localized to us or that we have found from other CERT programs that we want our people to know about, okay? The rose-colored box, essential documents, that's sort of your guide of important documents that we are going to need from you. So these are the things that are important that you start filling out and start making your way through. The DSW or disaster service worker form. I do get a lot of questions on that, so let me try and address some of that first of all. So if you've worked for a city or a government agency, if you are an employee, you're automatically a disaster service worker, and it's incumbent upon me, for example, to respond to my place of work if there is a disaster. You as CERT are volunteers, always volunteers, and we always want you to take care of yourself, your family and home, and your immediate neighbors first, above and beyond, nothing else. That's the most important part. DSW volunteer is what this is. So you are not required under any circumstances to have to respond if you are not in a situation where you're comfortable or even want to. But having this is sort of like having a workers' comp. So if you are injured responding to a disaster that has been declared for us, then this will help with workers' comp and those benefits as well. So we want all of our volunteers to have this on file, which is why we ask it of you. So if you're looking at the disaster service workers form here, the top box, please leave that blank. In the middle box, just what's shaded. We don't need your driver's license number. We don't even need a photo. Don't worry about a photo right now. If you are a minor, if you're between the ages of 16 and under 18, we do need your parent to fill in that center box. And then the bottom box, the affirmation or oath, yes, please fill that out. Please read it through and leave the date blank, because you'll be sworn in on Skills Day. And that's what we'll be doing that day. So save that, save a hard copy, bring it with you, because that needs to be a hard copy for us. Okay. All right, let's get into the nitty gritty and some of the good stuff that you learned over this course of this week. So we're always looking at local hazards. What are the things that are likely to happen, could happen in our area? When you're doing online CERT, they may cover a lot of things that hopefully don't happen to us as much, but we do want to cover some things. So being aware is half the battle. So we're going to take a little quick poll here. So time for you to be interactive with us. When you think of hazards, what are some of the hazards that you are most concerned about in your community, in our area? I believe you can pick more than one, but pick like the top two for you would be great.
We'll give them a few more minutes as the answers are pulling in.
All right, just a couple more seconds and then we'll wrap it up here. That lovely voice that you're hearing is Casey Treadway, my colleague here. Thank you, Casey, for facilitating. She's keeping an eye on the Q&A box, by the way. Anytime you have a question, type it into the Q&A box. Either she'll be able to help answer it right away, or she'll have me answer it for everyone. So don't hesitate. All right, here we go. So earthquake, by far the #1 concern. Flooding only got 20%, but ironically, flooding is the most common disaster nationwide. #1 thing that happens to people is flooding. Hazardous materials, 25%. The levee breach, even though we live right on the bay, okay, 10%, only 10% are concerned about that. 15% about sea level rise. 55% wildfire, that's gone up, I think, in the wake of the devastating wildfires that we've had. And of course, drought, since California seems to be prone to them. Fantastic. Thank you all for participating. That's really good to know. And since we are most concerned about earthquakes, let's start there. Some of us have experienced earthquakes. We know that they can range from a quick jolt to a really rolling, exciting and concerning situation. They are categorized like most things are, small to great. Fortunately, we haven't had a great earthquake in our lifetimes here, but you may recall the 2011 Japan earthquake, which then created a tsunami, which then impacted the nuclear power plant. So they had a triple disaster over in Japan in 2011. Some of you may have been here for the Loma Prieta earthquake in 1989, which was quite an experience and was not the big one, as they call it, the one we're always talking about. So this graphic is just, it's a good reminder to us in terms of intensity and the amount of shaking that can happen. If we had the current amount and current location and amount of construction that we have now, this darker red over on the left-hand side, based on modeling and what we know and scientific research of the 06 Great Quake of San Francisco, that's the shaking intensity that would have happened in that area in the 06 quake. The Loma Prieta quake is the one on the right with the with more yellow, so considerably less intense than the 06 quake. The difference was the 1989 Loma Prieta was a 6.9. The Great Quake in 06 was a 7.9. So 1 point doesn't seem like much, but it's considerably more intense. All right. So preparing for disaster is really, really important because action really reduces the stress. If you put things off, you know how it is. I procrastinate as good as anyone else does, and it just adds to your stress level. Knowing that things are ready, things are in place, that your family knows what to do, how to contact one another, and we're going to be discussing a lot of that tonight, does a huge amount to lower the stress level, therefore keeping you more clear-headed to make the best decisions for you and your family. So we're going to talk about a lot of these things today. Local hazards and assets. So CERT is an asset. The fire department is an asset. The Department of Public Works is an asset. These are all assets that we have in our communities that we're very fortunate to have. But you have to look at things like sea level rise. You have to consider earthquakes. You have to consider possibilities of flooding. So you want to look at your home, your work, your school, places where you tend to hang out the most, because that's where we want to find out. In that list of hazards that I asked you about, we could have added, tsunami. We could have added home fires. We could have added, sea level. We had sea level rise in there. But what are some of the other things that maybe we should be concerned about? We have high power lines in certain areas. We have gas mains, obviously, running under our streets. We have an international airport with passenger jets flying overhead all the time. These are all possible hazards, right? And so let's think about anything else. What about hurricanes? We don't have to worry about them, thank goodness. One thing we don't have to worry about. How about tornadoes? Yeah, we might get a tornado once in a while. This is one in South San Francisco in 2005. I was actually chased by this one, but that's a story for another time. But I'm not telling you this because I want you to be panicked and worried and, oh my God, I'm losing sleep tonight. The opposite. By giving actionable, things that you can do, it's going to, like I said, lower stress and make you and your family and your home better prepared. So let's talk a little bit about where you live, where you feel most comfortable in your life, and what are some of the hazards that you might be living with. We love our electronics. Everything is, charging, and everything is plug in, and everything is, plug and go. But just because there's an open socket doesn't mean you have to fill it. So don't overload your sockets, don't overload your surge protectors. Give everybody a break with that. Right? Heavy shelves, bookcases, cabinets. Take a look at what you've got around your home that may cause injury if it were to fall on you, or could block your path, block your escape. Remember, things aren't going to happen at a convenient time when like the family's all around the dinner table and we're all together and we know where everyone is. It's not going to be convenient. It might happen in the middle of the night. So I happen to really like the setup that this woman has here on the right. She's got hardwood floors, which are slippery. And I think, most of us have talked about having, or the importance of having, a pair of shoes and a working flashlight near your bed or in your nightstand, or in this case, she's got it in a bag under her bed attached to the pole, to the headboard. And why is that? If the shaking starts, things aren't going to stay pristine where you left them. Things are going to fall and they're going to move. In the case of the shoes and flashlight, they may roll around and become unavailable. And remember, the power is going to be out. It's going to be dark. It's going to be a little chaotic. What's the top injury if an earthquake happens at night that people get? The top injury, if you're in bed, you suddenly get up after an earthquake and you're running down the hall to check on the kids or the pets or just to check the house, cut up feet because vases have fallen or glass or picture frames with glass have broken, and you step on that and you're going to cut your feet up, which is why it's nice to have a pair of shoes and a working flashlight under the bed. You can pop those on and get that flashlight and you'll be much safer. So again, improving everyone's safety with a little pre-planning. You can do that tonight. It doesn't take any extra effort, right? So what can we do now before the earthquake to minimize injury, increase our survivability, and increase our family's safety? So store heavy and breakable things on the bottom shelves, please. Move the beds away from the windows. That's always good. Look at what's around your bed. What can fall on you? And while it may seem light, if it's a mirror or if it's a picture, it's going to have edges, and if that should hit you, it's going to cut. It's going to cause injury. Certainly confusion. Again, you want to lower the stress level, right? So move things around. Put those shoes and that flashlight handy nearby. This gooey thing underneath this bowl is not gum or gunk. It's actually something called museum putty or earthquake putty. And what that does is just gives some more strength, or some more, keeps it from shaking and falling off, I should say. So if you have any china, if you have any collectibles, if you have a vase or something that you don't want easily falling off, you can put this underneath it and it'll give it some more strength to withstand some shaking. You can even use it underneath paintings or pictures on your wall on a picture frame. If you put it on the back of the picture frame against the wall, it'll keep it from smacking when the shaking starts. So those are good options. What do you do during the earthquake? We've heard of drop, cover, and hold on, right? Why the hold on? Drop underneath the table, cover head and neck, okay? But hold on to that chair or that table leg, whatever is covering you, because again, the shaking can be quite intense and things can move and your cover can move away if you're not holding on to it, all right? Stay indoors, don't run outside. Outside, things are falling, things get crazy. Inside, underneath something sturdy. If you're in bed, roll over, cover yourself with a pillow, stay there till the shaking stops, okay? Anything you can do mainly to cover and protect your core. That's what you're aiming to protect. After the earthquake, things are going to be disheveled. Stuff is going to be on the floor. It's going to be a little chaotic. Obviously, that's in the kitchen. I had some really, really interesting and good advice that I got from another CERT member. If you are pet proofing or child proofing your cabinets, usually you'll have latches and things on the lower cabinet doors, right? But what if you put them on the upper cabinet doors, right? Because that's where all your glassware and all your dishware might be, and they fly open and all the dishes fly out. Well, if you had them latched shut, it's a small inconvenience day to day, but it'll be a massive convenience not to have to clean all that up and certainly cause less injury if you have fewer things that are broken and lost financially because you won't have to replace all of them. So think about that as a possibility. It was a really, really great tip that I got. Walk around your house or place of work or school and look at potential hazards to you, some of which you may not be able to change or fix or mitigate, but being aware of them is half the battle, all right? So those steps, for example, are trip hazards. Painting them and making them more visible is always helpful, but be aware of where, the pavement may be uneven. If you have large trees around your property, in this case, the tree came down, one came down and one almost came down. Fortunately, didn't hit the house. They were very fortunate, very lucky in that, but certainly could have gone another direction. So look at that, consider that, see what you might be able to mitigate, and be aware of what you can and cannot do. Then knowing where your gas and utility shutoffs are. So over on the right, we're talking about water. So the spigot there is common for the main water shutoff that you would have, usually located, if you're in a home, out front of the house at the sidewalk level. You've seen it on the sidewalk. If you've gone for a walk around your neighborhood, you'll see these oval shaped covers that say water on them, right? And if you lift that cover up, you're gonna see a spigot like that one, and that's to shut off all the water to your house, okay? Also in that same graphic, there's water shutoffs specifically for a given sink or the toilet or the bathroom sink or the kitchen sink. And it'll have a lever like that one, which if you know that the leak is specific to one sink, then you can just turn it off to that particular sink and be able to fix it and stop the leak, at least, so you don't do any additional damage. On the left-hand side, we're talking about natural gas. And natural gas is, it's located in different places in different homes. If you live in an apartment complex, if you ever have an opportunity for PG&E to come out to maybe to do an assessment on your energy use, you can ask them which one is yours for your unit, because you don't want to be turning off anyone else's gas if it isn't necessary. But knowing where your utilities are, where's your electrical handled from, where's the water handled from, and where's your natural gas handled from. Knowing where those are, very important for wherever you live, because these are things that you may need to decide to turn off at some point. So let's talk about natural gas specifically and locating it and how to shut it off and under what circumstances. Now I have a fake gas main that I want to show you and give as an example, but that's going to require moving the camera. So when we do that, I'm going to warn you because the camera is going to move and I don't want you to get all, sick to your stomach. So you might have seen these gas shut off tools, either or. They are very available at most hardware stores, certainly online. And if you just put in gas shut off tool, a whole bunch of them will come up. This one currently runs about $8. This one around $4. All right. And this one also helps with the water spigot. So this part would go, see if you can see that. Okay, this part would go into the spigot to give you some leverage to open or shut it off. Okay, this part or this part works for the gas main that we're about to shut off. And this little hook hooks into the water cover that I talked about, that cement water cover, so to lift that up, all right? And this one is strictly for gas. And why don't we move over to the gas main right now in case he's gonna help me out with the camera. So we're gonna move the camera and I'm gonna stop sharing so it's gonna go big. So if I were you, I'd shut my eyes for just a moment and then you won't get that sick to your stomach feeling. So here we go. Thank you. Stand by, folks. All right. I think you're safe now. All right, open your eyes and take a look. So here this is what you're looking for. This is your gas main. In my house, this is in the garage, but the gas main where I would shut off the gas is along the pipe and it goes outside the house. So the main is on the outside. The main part is on the inside, but the gas valve that I'm shutting off is on the outside of the house. So you're going to have to do some investigating as to what the setup is in your home or at your complex. All right, so let's take a look at the valve. You're looking for, this side, if you're looking for a pipe that's going to conceivably go into the ground, and then you're looking for this type of a valve, and notice that it's in line with the pipe, meaning the gas is on, it's running. That's an easy way to remember how to do it. So let's imagine that we had to shut it off. So here, this doesn't fit. This size fits. So not all valves are the same size. That's why these offer you a couple of different options in terms of size. Okay. All you want to do is turn this, and it's not easy. There we go. A quarter turn. Just so that it's crossing the pipe or blocking the gas, if that is a better picture for you. And that means that it's off. So when you find your gas main, you will find it up and down the way it was before. That's how you should find it. That means the gas is running. This is off, and then you leave it that way. And we'll discuss that next. So we're going to move the camera back, and then let me know if you have any questions, but close your eyes. Easy now. I think that's good. Thank you.
And you're sharing again?
And I am sharing again. Thank you, Casey. All right, so let me find where we were. There we are. Turn the slide. There we go. All right. So Casey's getting back to her desk, and thank you very much. Let me know if there are any questions so far. That's what I wanted to see, if there are any questions so far. But like,
So good.
So far, so good. Great. So gas shutoff tool. What some people do, by the way, is they attach the tool, whichever tool they choose, somewhere close to their gas main, either with a rope or a chain or something. Again, because when after an earthquake and everything's shaking and falling off the shelves, you're not going to find where you put this. So having it somewhere nearby, if that is safe and accessible to you in your home and the way your home is set up, then that's something to consider so that the tool is always there. And again, gas shutoff tool, you should be able to get plenty of options online, or you can ask for it at any hardware store. All right. Now, under what circumstances do you shut off the gas? Well, there's a tool for that too. You have it with you at all times. It's very convenient. Right here, your nose. If you smell gas, and remember what you're smelling, the smell of gas or natural gas does not have its own scent naturally. It is something put into natural gas around the world, actually, but certainly here in the United States, and so that we would recognize it, because it can be quite a hazard. If you smell gas, does that mean boom, automatically shut off the gas? Or if there's an earthquake, does that mean boom, automatically shut off the gas? No. If there's an earthquake and you don't smell gas, leave it alone. If there's an earthquake and you do smell gas, or there's some other circumstance in which you smell gas, that means investigate. Some years ago, there was a lightning storm, one of the rare lightning storms that we have here in the Bay Area. And we were home, it was late, about 10 o'clock at night, and it was obviously raining as well. And boom, the whole house shook and lit up. And I went, whoa, that was not a direct hit. You know, that felt like we got hit by lightning. So my husband and I got up and we immediately started investigating. He calls me into the garage. Sure enough, there's a very strong smell of gas. But not only that, we found it, we could hear it. It was hissing out of the pipe. It had broken a small hole into the pipe. The lightning had hit the ground and come up through the house, or hit the house and come up through the pipe and punched a hole in the pipe. So my husband was able to shut off the gas, we opened all the doors and windows, evacuated our family, and called 911 from outside. They came right away, confirmed that the gas was off, that the danger had subsided. PG&E came out right away and decided, fine, you'll have to go the night without gas, but everything is safe. And we were able to sleep because they had reassured us that everything was safe. And they came out the next day and turned it back on. Under no circumstances do you turn the gas on yourself. Turning it off, yes. Then let PG&E know that you turned it off and why. And then they will come out and turn it back on when it is safe to do so. There's also the famous story of the Good Samaritan after an earthquake. It was the middle of the day and most people were away at work. He was home and he happened to have a gas shut-off tool. So he figured he'd do all his neighbors a favor for the safety of their homes, and he went and shut off the gas all down the block. Thoughtful, but it took about a week for everybody to get their gas back on because PG&E was quite busy handling emergencies in other areas. So again, turning your gas back on may not be the top priority after a disaster. So turn off the gas only when it's necessary after you have investigated and you have a reason to do so. All right. How are we doing? Everybody good? If you have a question, by the way, put it in the Q&A box. If you have a question, by the way, about anything that you covered in Unit 1, feel free to ask it.
So Sandra, it seems like someone named Miss Ruiz raised their hand, but again, just put it in the Q&A chat and we'll be happy to answer any questions for you.
Yes, Donna, if you could type that in, that would be helpful. We're not set up in such a way that I could easily talk to you. So put it on in there and I'll be happy to address it, absolutely. Meanwhile, it's time for another poll. So let's talk about what preparedness steps have you already taken? And don't worry if you haven't, okay? I assure you that you'll get at least one right on this one. So let's take a look at the poll if we can launch that. What preparedness steps have you already taken? And yes, you can pick more than one. Take your time. Nice. Yeah, make sure you scroll down because it's actually a long list. All right, a couple more seconds to wrap it up. Everybody make sure you participate in here. We have a few more people who have not voted yet, so please go ahead and vote now. All righty. So most of you, 71% of you, have talked with your family about what to do in an emergency. That's excellent. Thank you. You prepared an emergency kit of some sort. Fantastic. A go bag for each family member. 6% of you. I'm very impressed with that alone. And we'll talk more about go bags as we go along. Earthquake or flood insurance, 29%. I know it's another thing to look into. It's paperwork. I get it. Keep in mind that the standard homeowners insurance or renters insurance does not cover earthquakes or floods, the standard insurance contracts. So please find out if your homeowners insurance happens to include those or if it's something that you need to add on. All right. We've often heard of people who were underinsured, especially in the wildfires. That's the type of thing that happened with them. Okay. Located the utility shutoffs. Thank you, 47% of you. Prepared a family plan. Fantastic. Strapped the water heater and the shelves to the wall studs. 18%. That's not a terrible, not very time consuming and certainly not terribly expensive. Folks, again, at a hardware store, and there's lots of videos you can look up on YouTube on how to do it. It is very straightforward and certainly does help a great deal with keeping things where they belong when shaking is going on. All right. Having your home bolted or anchored to the foundation, that is a large expense. So I understand that not as many people do that, but it is something to consider if you've done all the other things, right? Taking a preparedness course like CERT, all of you, it's 100%. You should all get that one. And testing your smoke alarms each month. You want to make sure they're in working order. Even if you've got the 10-year type of smoke alarm, which means you don't have to change the battery once or twice a year, but test the smoke alarm once a year, please. All right. Outstanding. Nicely done, guys. Thank you so much. All right. So I think there's some questions in the Q&A box. Let's see if we can address some of those.
One of them was tech related, so we're trying to work that out on that end. We did get one that came in about when are merit emails supposed to come through, and so I think this is regarding possibly registration or completion would be my guess.
Yep, very good. Thank you. So merit is something that you receive each time you've completed a unit in online CERT. So once you complete the full unit, and in the case of Unit 1, it was divided into two parts, Unit 1.1 and 1.2. You have to finish both to complete Unit 1, and then you will get a merit emailed to you. I understand that it can be delayed by a couple of days. So a couple of days after you've completed Unit 1, you might get an email from Merit. Check your junk mail because you've never received one before. So check your junk mail. You're looking for something from Merit or from the University of Utah, because that's who runs online CERT. And every time you complete a unit in online CERT, you will earn a merit. The first time you get it, you'll have to hit the button that says accept, and it'll also walk you through how to download the app, the Merit app. And that's one easy way to store all of your merits in one place. You want to save anything that you earn through CERT, any certification that you get. You're going to get certificates, you're going to get merits. You want to save all that because that's your receipt. That's the proof that you've completed the course or whatever it is that you've completed. So Merit is a merit badging system. We use it here at the local level, but that is also a national level merit that you're receiving for completing each unit that we're going to go through. Okay, and so look for an email from Merit, accept the merit, and then in the first case, it'll walk you through how to set up an account and download the app. Simple. Okay, so I hope I addressed that.
We also had another question that came in about asking, how do we complete a unit?
So you have to get onto online CERT, and that is something, by the way, online CERT is something you can do at your convenience whenever you have the time to complete that unit. If you're a night owl and you like to work at 11 o'clock at night, great. If you're an early morning person, terrific. That's the lovely part of having this hybrid option, because you can do it anytime that's convenient for you. Okay, so online CERT and the office hours and eventually the skills day, the hands-on component, that is what makes up hybrid CERT. So online CERT, in the email that I sent you today and the emails that I sent earlier, include something called directions to take online CERT. And that walks you through how to get set up with that. And when you log on to online CERT each time, and you can stop in the middle of a unit, take a break. If something interferes or you need to go take care of business, you can leave it, log off, and then when you log back on, you should be able to get to right where you left off. When you log on to online CERT, this is a tip, by the way, you log on to online CERT and then open up whichever unit you're opening up. Don't close any other windows, because that first window is the window that is keeping track of where you are. So don't close any of the windows for online CERT until you've completely finished what you're doing for that day and you're logging off. Okay?
We do have a couple more questions that came in. So one is asking, do we have to have the Merit app?
The Merit app, I don't believe you have to have it. It's something that is very convenient for you because then you would just, have everything on one device and have easy access to it. But if you're not going to download the app, and I understand some people don't like to do that, that's fine. You're going to have to save the merits that are emailed to you in some way. You can save them on your computer digitally, print them out and have a hard copy, whatever works for you. Okay. So yeah, I'm very flexible that way. Don't worry, but we're just giving you options and more flexibility. And the app is one way of having everything on your phone. The merit system is used by CERT programs throughout the country. It's a badging system. It's a way of showing that you've received particular trainings. It's also used when you are a CERT member, sometimes to sign in. You simply wand your camera with a QR code that comes up with the Merit app. And it just saves on paper and sometimes saves time and easier record keeping because it maintains the data for us. Okay, so it is something that we use throughout the country. Don't worry. Don't feel obligated to do it. If it's not something that the memory on your phone doesn't take it, I get it. So, but you do need to save the merits that are emailed to you, and they're only active for a certain amount of time. So they're going to email it to you. You click on the link, it pops up like a little, badge or certificate. You want to save that so it shows that you've completed Unit 1, Unit 2, and so on.
We got a few more too. So someone is asking about building the tower in 1.2. They're a little bit confused by it, so they want to know what that exercise is about.
Oh, the tower building exercise. Yeah. See, if we were in a classroom together, we would be doing this all together. And it is the exercise that we do in our first class together. The idea behind that is you're sitting there at a table with people that you may never have met before or know casually, and you're given some construction paper, some tape, a pair of scissors, and you're told, okay, you have 10 minutes to build a 5-foot freestanding tower. Go. And then I step back and watch what happens, right? And people, have all kinds of great imaginative ideas. And the idea is a freestanding without sticking to the floor or the ceiling. A tower that's roughly my height since I'm 5'3". So it's easy to measure. It's a fun exercise, but the point of the exercise is that people who don't know one another are working in an unfamiliar setting with unfamiliar tools can come together and make something happen and reach a common goal. And I've never had anyone fail this exercise. They've done something or gotten to some point. And that's huge, right? And that's what CERT's all about, is all kinds of people from all different backgrounds with all different abilities can come together to reach a certain goal. And we're just helping you focus that ability into a team. If a need arose and there was need in your neighborhood for some mission, something had to happen, something had to be rescued, something had to be retrieved, and you would work together with other CERT trained members to make that happen. So that's what that exercise is about.
One of these isn't a question, so sorry for the pause, but
no, it's okay.
So I believe that would you be seeing emails from online CERT via Merit is the sender, I think is the question they're trying to ask.
I believe that Merit is the sender. Online CERT may be the backup sender, but every Merit that I've received, for example, usually comes from either San Mateo Consolidated Fire, because I issue merits sometimes, but you're not going to get any from me. They're all coming from online CERT. So it's either going to be online CERT, University of Utah, or Merit itself. And forgive me, I haven't been on the receiving end from your perspective, but I will ask our fellow CERTs who have taken it the way you have, and I'll ask them if they can tell me what it looks like when it arrives. I'll try and see if I can have that for you next week. But please check your junk folder as well.
So that one's answered. And then we also have one that says, are there any questionnaires to complete and finish the unit?
Are there any
So
questions?
when they're taking the course, are there any questionnaires or surveys that they have to take to complete Unit 1 and 1.2?
So within online CERT, there will be knowledge checks and quizzes. And in order to move on, sometimes in online CERT, you have to get a certain percentage, I believe it to be 70% right. That's where the study guide comes in. If you got yourself in a hole and you just can't seem to come up with the right answer or the right combination of answers, don't worry. The study guide will walk you through all that. So if you look at study guide 1, the study guides will be posted on by the Tuesday of each week for those week's courses or those week's units. And it'll get you out of any hole or any place that you're stuck. And then the only other thing is the essential documents box, that rose colored box in class 1. Those are specific paperwork and information that we need you to do.
Okay, great. And thank you for those who posted in chat, but they are confirming that their merit emails did come from Online CERT Merit as the sender. So
thank you. Online CERT Merit. Thank you guys very much. Everybody helps each other out. It's so great. That's the way we work. So that's what you're looking for. Online CERT Merit is the sender for your merits after you've completed a unit. So remember, in Unit 1, you have to complete both parts. Unit 1.1 and 1.2 is all one. And you'll receive a merit for Unit 1. Okay. All right, so let's take a break. And to keep me honest, I'm going to put it on 3 minutes, and I want everybody to take a nice stretch, glass of water, run to the ladies and gentlemen's room, whatever you need to do. And we are going to be back here in 3 minutes. Okay? Thank you. If you miss a class, an office hours, or if you want to review something from the class, we are trying to record all the classes and we will post those on our YouTube channel. I should have sent you a link for the YouTube channel and you can look at them. Last week's was the orientation. This week will be class 1 and so on. So you can go back and take a look, review something, or if you missed it, like I said, then you can catch up that way. Okay, so trying to give each other as many options and much flexibility as we can. All right, let's talk a little bit about communication and information. Certainly one of the biggest things that always seems to break down in any disaster. Everything takes longer in a disaster, by the way, including communication. And the disaster we're experiencing right now, this pandemic, you've noticed things take longer. You have to make appointments. We've got to stand in line. We have to wait our turn. We have to remember the mask. It just seems like everything is like slogging through mud a little bit. I get it. I know. I'm right there with you. And yes, that is a common thread in all disasters. Things will always take longer than we would like them to, including communication and information. But that's why it's important to have as many different sources of reliable information that you can, so you can make the quickest and best decision for you and your family in any given situation. Because remember, you're going to be in a different place at a different time, in a different location with different resources, depending on where and when and what type of emergency should happen. Okay, so let's look at some of the things that we have currently going on. So you might have heard of PSPS by now because it's happened a couple of times. This is a relatively new alert called the Public Safety Power Shutoff, being used by the utility companies across the state. So in our area, it's PG&E, Southern Edison, San Diego, all those utility companies up and down California have chosen to use PSPS when a certain combination of situations is occurring. And this is lessons learned, if you will, from the wildfires, the devastating wildfires that we had back in 2017 and 2018, and that we continue to have. So the idea that they've come up with, this is a plan that the utility companies have agreed on, is one way of trying to prevent wildfires, at least from hot equipment, is by shutting off equipment in a particular area where there is dry vegetation, low humidity, high winds, if that combination of weather is happening, they will call for a PSPS, this power shutoff, on purpose in advance of the storm to prevent greater devastation. That's the plan. So that means, of course, that we have to plan for the real possibility of being without power for several days. This is not something that happens over there, out far away from us in the country or in the mountains. This happens here. Parts of San Mateo, parts of San Bruno, parts of South San Francisco, all experienced PSPS shutoffs in the past couple of years, some of them as long as 3 days. So think of a power shutoff as a power outage. That's exactly what it is. With a power outage, that can happen at any time without warning. With a PSPS, you're going to get 48 hours and 24 hours warning. So what are some of the things that we should do in a power outage or shutdown? Keep your fridge closed. If you're opening and closing the fridge, you're lowering the temperature in your fridge faster, and therefore you're going to have a lot more waste of food sooner. You want to turn off and unplug any appliances and computers that you're not using. Please don't drive around. The lights are going to be off. Things are going to be more hazardous. And you want to leave the roadways clear for emergency vehicles that are handling anything that they need to address. Please avoid using candles. Use battery operated flashlights. But this is the biggie: knowing how to manually open your garage door. If you have an electric garage door opener, in a power outage, whether it's accidental or on purpose, in a power outage, your electric door opener is not going to work, and you may need to leave the house for some reason. So please learn how to manually open your garage door. Something you might realize is that it may be too heavy for you to do on your own. So that's why it's important then to talk with your neighbors, work out a deal where you'll help each other with your respective garage doors. So these are all things that you can do in advance, right? And plan. If you have camping equipment, wow, that's half of your emergency kit right there. But remember, camping stoves, things like generators too, are meant to be used outdoors and away from the house. Okay. So think now about some of the things that run on electricity. And I put my favorite one at the very top, the traffic lights. Traffic lights will be out. That's why one other reason why not to be driving around. People just don't know how to function at an intersection when there are no working traffic lights. If you have medical devices, anything that runs on electricity or on battery, you need to have a backup plan, either another set of batteries to get you through another 8-hour period. If it's a PSPS that lasts for a few days, it may mean you'll have to leave your home for part of the day to charge up any devices that need to be charged up. So that's all part of the plan. So think about that and what's important. Gasoline pumps aren't going to be working. And grocery store checkouts and that sort of thing. So gasoline pumps. So one thing my mom taught me and the fire department has reinforced is when you get to half a tank, you're on empty. My mom always said half a tank is yours and half a tank's the car's. So at half a tank, you owe the car to fill up. So, and we are required here at the fire station, any of the vehicles that belong to the fire station, fire department should be filled up at half a tank. So that way you're ready to go. If you had to evacuate, you don't want to have to go down to the corner to put gas in the car, right? If you had to leave now, you want to be able to get away. And a half a tank will get you 100 miles or so, right? Depending on the type of vehicle you have. So again, give yourself and your family as many options, as much flexibility as possible, and keeping the car, in the car gas tank at least half full, if not more, is always a good idea. All right. I'm on polls tonight for some reason. So let's talk a little bit about cash. Unit 1 might have talked a bit about this. So let's talk about why we would have cash, or why is cash part of our emergency plan. So Casey, if you can launch that, that would be awesome. Did I make it too easy?
No one's fallen for it yet, though.
No one. Everybody's really good. Sharp class. Okay, a couple more seconds for a few of you just to enter your answers there. But yes, that's the reason. The thing is, it's just a few things you want to think about. Again, it's not so that you're terrorized and frozen in fear. Quite the opposite. And so you take action so you are able to be as comfortable as possible and able to make clear-headed decisions that are best for you and your family in an emergency, in a disaster, okay? So correct, all of the above. Things are not going to work the way they normally work after a disaster. And that might be not just for a few hours, it might be for days and weeks. So if you're not able to get cash from an ATM and you're not able to use your credit card, you want to have cash accessible. I often get the question, well, how much cash should I have in my emergency kit? Okay, and by the way, thank you again for participating in the poll. How much cash? That's not something I can answer for you. That's individual to you, right? What works for you? How much do you spend in a typical day? But it isn't like you have to have it in your kit so that you don't want to lose a whole ton of cash or somebody should steal your backpack or something. You want it accessible. So does that mean having it some at somebody else's house, or obviously the bank, but the bank may not be open for a few days. I don't care if you put it in a can and you dig a hole in your backyard and put it there. Whatever works for you, accessible. It may not be accessible immediately. If I am at work and my cash stash is at home, then I'm going to have to get home, and that might take me a day or two. So I want to have a little cash with me at work. Again, think about where you spend time, and you're going to want to have some supplies, which might include cash, everywhere you tend to spend time. I have things in my trunk that if I needed to stay here for 3 days, I could. And so at work, if at school, if you tend to hang out at a volunteer center or a community center or whatever, think about resources and supplies that you would have near there. Your car is certainly one place because we tend to bring our cars with us, your home and your place of work. All right. So how much cash is up to you, but I would recommend that it be in small bills. Let me go back here for a second. So let's talk about why small bills. Let's say we're a few days into a disaster and you're running low on water. And I happen to have a good stash of water. So here's my gallon jug, and I'm happy to sell this to you. And I'm gonna be nice, I'm gonna sell this to you for $2. $2 for a gallon jug of water in an emergency. Not a bad deal. But all you have is a 20. I'm not gonna give you my change. So now you have purchased this $2 bottle of water for $20, right? What did I say? You want to increase your flexibility. You want to have options. That's why you have small bills. So 5s and 1s you want to have on hand. Okay. I'm going the wrong way.
We have another question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cash registers are electric too. How will stores compensate for that?
The stores each store is up to themselves. If they have a backup generator, that's going to work for them. And probably the larger stores might have that. But keep in mind, many of your grocery stores are not going to be able to function in the hours and a couple of days even after a major quake or some sort of disaster. That's why it's important to have an emergency kit, some supplies, some food stuff, if you will, so that you don't have to rely on your normal grocery store just in case. But very good question. So yes, anything that works electronically is not going to necessarily work well or at all in a disaster. All right, we ask that all of our CERT members make sure that they are registered with SMC Alert. And what is SMC Alert? So it is another source of information. It is another tool for you to get information in an emergency. All right, so when you register for SMC Alert, you'll be able to customize it. You'll be able to get information from specific cities that are important to you. So, you know, if I have a family member who lives in Pacifica, another one who lives in San Bruno, and another one in San Mateo or Belmont, then I'm able to click those cities so I get alerts from those cities. This is San Mateo County only. There was a case where I was working for outside of San Mateo County, so I had the alert for that county. All the counties in the Bay Area have an alert system. In fact, most counties throughout the state now have them. I even, when I go on vacation with the family and I'm in an area that I'm unfamiliar with and I'm going to be there for a week, I will register with their alert system, that county's alert system, because if something happens, I want to be able to get good information from a reliable source so that I can make the best decision for myself and my family. But we really ask all of our certs to be registered with SMC Alert. Also in your profile, when you get to the profile part, they're going to ask you if you have any particular skills. If you have any medical background, EMT, that sort of thing, construction, and CERT trained. So go ahead and you can check off CERT trained because you're going through it right now. And if there's a time during an emergency or disaster that we activate our CERT program, this is the #1 way that we would do that. We would reach out to our certs via SMC Alert, asking them to activate. And we'll talk about activation and all that again as we move through the course. But if you'd please make sure you are registered with SMC Alert. It is free. You get texts on your phone about road closures or upcoming storms, all kinds of different, different down trees, whatever the case may be. Again, important information for you to use and make decisions that are best for you and your family. And this is also in your essential documents.
I'll also add, Sandra, that if they don't live in San Mateo County. There's also other alerting systems for each county.
Correct.
So you can always put in your county as well as alert, and it should pop up with the result that you're looking for to register for your other county if someone else lives in Alameda or Santa Clara, any one of the above.
Right. If your spouse works in a different county, it's always good to have that. If you have a family member who is a college student who's away at college, many of the college campuses have their own alerting system. So I have my daughter's college alert system in my phone. If something is happening on her campus, I want to know about it, right? So that's, again, these messaging systems are a tool, an extra source of information for you. All right. Now, after disaster, what's the first thing we're worried about is family and loved ones, right? We want to know how they're doing. But if cell towers are down, and remember, in an earthquake, cell towers can fall. In a wildfire, cell towers burn up. Power outages sometimes affect cell towers as well. So what can we do to increase our ability to communicate with our family? Number one thing, we're all going to be on our cell phones, right? As soon as something happens, we're on our cell phones trying to reach everybody. Everyone's calling each other here locally. So the bandwidth goes down to nothing, and regular voice calls will not be able to get through as easily as at normal times. So what can you do? And that's really frustrating. And again, it raises the stress level, and we're trying to bring it down. So what can we do? One thing, texting. Texting takes up less bandwidth. Don't send emojis, don't send GIFs, don't send videos. Quick, simple text. Sandra, earthquake, fine, I'm going to Casey's house, right? So now you know that I'm safe, you know that, where I'm going to go, what my plan is, and you don't have to worry so much about me, and you can focus on other people. Texts are not going to go through necessarily immediately as they do, again, in normal times. They may take a while, but the odds of a text getting through is better than a voice call. Other things you can do. Your outgoing voice message, right? Change it, update it. So when people call you, they get your voice message. They'll be frustrated they couldn't talk to you. But if it's an updated one that says, hey, it's Sandra, we've just had an earthquake. I'm fine. I'm at work. I'm staying here. Or I'm fine, but I'm helping out, Joanne down the street, and I'll be staying at her place. Again, I haven't given out any personal information. My loved ones know what I mean. They can tell that it's a current message because I referred to whatever the disaster was. Short, sweet, again, lowers the temperature. Not as satisfying as speaking to that person one-on-one, but really that'll do for now. It'll help me get past worrying about that one person, and I can go on to the next thing. All right. We're all on social media now. A lot of people, whether they're on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and there's sometimes a status or a bio in that. You can change that to say, instead of, dating, you can say safe, safe, gonna be over at mom's, safe, have the dog staying with Bob, whatever the case may be. Again, don't give out personal information, but your loved ones, if they're checking their social media and they're trying to reach you, at least we'll get some information that is current, and they'll know what your plans are at least right away. Okay, but this has got to be one of my favorites as well. The out of state or out of area contact. Now, it doesn't have to be one of these states. It can be Southern California. But again, since everyone is on the phone trying to reach each other in this area where the disaster happened, all the lines are going to be jammed and towers might be compromised. Therefore, there'll be less bandwidth to use. But long distance calls will work better. Long distance calls have better odds of getting through. So I have a brother in Phoenix, Arizona. My daughters, my husband, my cousins, everyone knows to call him. He is our out-of-state contact if something happens. Again, I won't be able to speak directly to everybody, but if I call him, quick phone call. Hey, it's Sandra. We just had an earthquake. I'm fine. This is my plan. Who else have you heard from? Oh, I heard from your daughter, and then I heard from your cousin, and I heard, great, good. And so now I know about 2 or 3 people. I get off the line, and I can check back in with him in a couple of hours and see who else he might have heard from. Out of state or out of area contact is really important. Something that's very simple. But the key here is, 1, the person who is your out of state contact has to agree to be your out of state contact, and you might be that for them. And number 2, everyone in your family has to know to call that person in an emergency situation. Okay, that's how it works. In the Loma Prieta quake, no one had cell phones yet. They were not common. So most of us had landlines at the time. Landlines are actually more reliable, but again, still could be iffy in an emergency. So it took us about 5.5 hours to locate where everybody was and that everybody was safe and what everybody's plans were. So it takes some time, but we were able to sleep well that night, knowing that everybody was at least safe, right? So that's key right there.
Hey, Sandra, I'll also add, when an emergency does happen, everyone's going to be trying to get in touch with other people. So doing a text message, which requires only one ping up to its tower, you're more likely to get that text message out. So try texting because you have a higher chance of reaching out to people as well.
That's right. Good point. And again, no videos, nothing that takes up a lot of bandwidth or memory. You just want nice, short, simple messages that let people know your status and your plans. Okay. How are we doing? Any questions so far?
Nothing yet, so I think we're good.
Good. So in the reference section of the home base page, there's a lot of information. There's a lot of supply lists. There's a lot of good stuff. So, take a look at that. And remember, that's the material that you would be receiving if we were in the classroom together, the type of things that we would pass out, things that are local or that we use here in our program. But one thing that I tell all new CERTs is don't go running out and buying a whole bunch of stuff for CERT. Right now, we want you to focus on you, your family, your home. That's what we want you to take care of. So emergency kit for your home, water storage for your home, go bags for your family members, including your pets. And there's a lot of information on go bags, and I can get you more if you need it. But if you are from one of our 3 cities, so Belmont, Foster City, or San Mateo, and you're going to be in our CERT program, when we get finished with Skills Day, the hands-on portion of this, everyone's going to get a certificate of completion, right? But if you are from our program, then you're going to get an ID from our program, and you're going to get a basic backpack, a basic CERT backpack, which might look something like this. Small bag with some basic supplies. So why don't we take a look and see what's in our basic backpack? All right. So, helmet, all right, protect your head. Excuse me here. Goggles, eye protection. Here's everybody's favorite, the very fashionable CERT vest. High visibility because we want to keep you safe. We want you to be visible. Remember, things might be dark, things might be loud, things might be chaotic, and everybody will be nervous, so we want you to be visible. Dust mask, something that we need to add more of to all of our backpacks. This should look familiar, right? A gas shutoff tool. Some basic first aid supplies. and a clipboard, because there will be paperwork involved. So that's just some of the basics that comes. There will also be a pair of work gloves in there. So again, don't run out and buy a bunch of things. See what you get on Skills Day, see what you use on Skills Day, and then you'll start talking with other CERTs who spent more time. And some of them are going to be coming to our classes here on Thursday nights. And these are the people that you can talk to and see, well, what works for you? What did you find? What did you want to, enhance your bag with? And they'll give you their advice from their experience. And you're going to find that some people are very much like you, and you have a lot in common. So that might be the direction you want to go in. Others, went crazy and bought a whole bunch of stuff. It's up to everybody. But right now, hold off and focus on your needs for your family and your home and what works best for you. So emergency kits, go bags, making sure that you've got shoes and a working flashlight near your bed. Those are the types of things you want to be focusing on now. All right. So you've seen this before, the recommendations for a kit. And for most kits now, and many times they're referring to 72 hours or 3 days. We're looking at recommending highly that you look at 7 days. Look at a full week, especially when it comes to medications and things like that. You do not want to rely on the local pharmacies having your medication, because we don't know how quickly they'll be able to get supplies, whether they'll be able to be open or not. So don't rely on that. Whatever you can do to have a supply of what you need, what makes you comfortable for at least a week is good. The recommendation is a minimum of 1 gallon of water per person per day in terms of storage. So let's go back to my famous jug of water. Okay, this is a gallon of water. This is what you get for a day. This is what you're going to brush your teeth with, make your coffee with, drink with, cook with, bathe with, flush the toilet with. Is this enough for you for a day? That's up to you, okay? So how much water you store, much like how much cash you should have accessible, is up to you, but the minimum recommended is 1 gallon per person per day, all right? We discussed cash and small bills. You want at least a change of clothing and change of shoes. Those of us who work in an office, sometimes we're wearing, high heels. I don't want to be going through a disaster in high heels, so I have a change of clothes in my car, for example. Extra charging cords. You can never have enough charging cords. Have an extra charging cord in your disaster kit or in your go bag. And certainly now we need masks and gloves in every bag that we have. So throw extra masks and an extra pair of gloves in there, no matter what. People always ask me about water storage, so I threw this slide in to give you some ideas. There is no right or wrong way. If you just want to go out and buy a case of water like this and store this, that's great. If you want to go with a fancy storage system and you have the space, you can do that as well. These bricks here in the middle hold about 2.5 gallons of water. And the nice thing about them is you can stack them as you see there. And so you can stack them in a corner of a closet, so they take up less space if you live in a smaller home or apartment. You can put them under the bed. They really do give a lot of flexibility, and they're very portable. If you had to leave, you can take, a 2.5 gallon jug of water easily and put it in your car and have that with you. The barrels or the big tanks, again, that's completely up to you. You want to be able to make sure that you have a way of rotating it. About every 1.5 to 2 years, you're going to want to rotate that water. So use it to, water your garden or whatever it is, wash the car, but then put fresh water in about every 2 years with the ones that have these storage systems and the blue that keep the bacteria from growing in them. All right, I promise. Last poll of the evening. What if you have to evacuate? So Casey's going to launch this. What's important to know now? If you have to, we've had situations, for example, just now with the last big rainstorm, people were evacuating from the areas that had the wildfires because of the potential for landslides, another potential hazard, right? Landslides. So they had to evacuate, and by evacuate, I mean very little notice. If you had to leave now.
Going back to a previous point, Sandra, packing the go kit, you know how I feel about garbage bags. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes.
Surprised it wasn't on your slide.
I'm surprised it wasn't on my slide either, because I always commented about it on my Get Ready classes, but I have overlooked. I'm sure I have it in a future slide. So one thing you definitely want to have in any go bag or any emergency kit are garbage bags. And as Casey has pointed out, that is her big thing. And I agree with her wholeheartedly. A garbage bag can be a raincoat, you know, it can carry things, it can store things, it can carry people if you had to make a makeshift stretcher. Garbage bags are fantastic for, you know, sanitation, obviously. So garbage bags should be part of any emergency kit that you have in your home. You can throw one in your backpack, easy to carry and very, very useful in many ways. All right, let's see how we're doing. Are we almost there?
Yeah, we're almost there. Give them another second or two. We also got another question that I'm going to answer via the poll as well, but verbally they were asking, is there a distance for out-of-area recommendation? And based on other studies and research that I found, the recommended distance is at least 100 miles or more away.
I agree. I would want it to be, you know, in my head, I like Southern California, Oregon, Nevada. You know, that's kind of where I'm going, because earthquakes, remember, you know, the earthquake going back to Loma Prieta was epicentered in Santa Cruz, but it was felt as far away as Oakland and San Francisco. So, you know, if you have somebody who lives out of state, out of the country, you want someone who reliably answers their phone and who agrees to be your out-of-state contact or out-of-area contact for that purpose. Okay. All right, let's talk. I'm running behind and I do not want to keep you late. So if you have to evacuate, remember the rule of two. You want 2 ways out of every room in your house, which could be the door, and the second way out might be the window. You want 2 ways out of your home, and you want 2 ways out of your neighborhood. So if you're accustomed to driving the same route all the time, change it up. Because if a tree falls down, if there's a sinkhole, something happens and your main route is blocked, you want to have an option. So 2, right? We talked about having gas in the car, very important. And yes, if you're going to look into it this week, I think that's terrific. So important things. Well done, everybody. All right, so for next week, we're doing 2 different units. We're doing unit 2, which is CERT organization, and unit 5, disaster psychology. And you can skip in online CERT, so don't worry. But we're doing unit 2 and unit 5. And this is what the page looks like. And there's the CERT in action video is an excellent video. I hope you do make the chance to watch that. It really does give a overall picture of how CERT would work automatically, organically, if you will, after an emergency. The only thing that they don't do in this video that we do normally is the CERT members don't receive an activation the way you would. Other than that, it's a really great video to look at and understand how CERT will work in the picture. You're going to be going over CERT organizations, so this is kind of a big org chart as to where CERT fits in the big picture. If something were to happen, for example, the pandemic, early in the pandemic, we opened an EOC, an Emergency Operations Center, and all of these positions were put into action to take, you know, to assist the city, to assist with resources, to streamline as much as we could in terms of getting everything. And CERT, if you look here, fits into this picture right here underneath fire and rescue. In some places, in some cities, it's under law enforcement. The police department is the sponsoring agency. Makes no difference, it's still CERT, but CERT is part of our big emergency plan. If you focus in on CERT, this is our org chart for CERT here. This is me here, the program manager, and then we have the different sections, the different cities, and different committees or teams, if you will, depending on what we need for whatever the given disaster may be. And you'll learn more about that this week. So, time for questions. Any questions right now for anything that we have to do? Reminder that you're doing Unit 2 and Unit 5. And anytime you're lost or you're not sure where to go, remember to go to the home base page, and that will guide you through the order in which we're doing things. And starting next week, I'll be bringing in one of our other trainers, so you start to meet some of our other CERT members and trainers and get some different perspectives and stories from them. So make sure that you are joining us again next week here at 6:30. It'll be the same Zoom link. And again, if you have any questions, by all means, reach us at smcfire.org. I want to let you know that registration for this CERT course has now ended. But if you have a friend or family member who really hasn't been able to commit to the time that it takes to do the CERT course, but really wants to get started in preparedness, we have a basic preparedness course, a class that is 2 hours long. It'll be taking place next Wednesday, and it's called Get Ready. And they can enroll in Get Ready just the same way you enrolled in CERT. They go to our Eventbrite site, and I believe Casey is typing that into the Q&A box for you.
Yes.
Just give them that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Just give them that, and they can look for the Get Ready class. The Get Ready class will be next Wednesday at 6:30 on Zoom. And again, it's a basic preparedness class. You know me, I want you not to worry. I want to give you lots of good advice, and people feel a lot better about preparedness and don't feel quite as overwhelmed when they get done with it.
So while we're waiting for give them a few more minutes in case they have any last minute questions, I'm going to post 2 things in the chat. So I wanted to make mention, if you're doing the online CERT and you're having tech issues, you can reach out to Online CERTs. They have a 24/7 live chat, as well as an email that you can email that. And then right after that, I'm also putting the Eventbrite link if you want to get registered for the Get Ready class.
Yeah, so just tell your friends and family. It's only 2 hours. It's really simple, and it's packed with information. All right, everyone, have a fantastic week. You guys are doing a great job. Hang in there. You're doing terrific. Keep up the good work, and we will see you next week. All right, next Thursday.